Hello my friends and enemies. Glad you are here. This video is part of a series that looks at characters in Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time, introducing them, showing their development, and providing details about their lives that make them the fantastic characters they are. The character in today's topic is Aviendha. Her story doesn't begin until Book 3, The Dragon Reborn. She's introduced in Chapter 38, Maidens of the Spear. We first meet her when she runs into Nynaeve, Egwene, and Elaine after one of her companions is injured. Ultimately, Nynaeve and the girls oblige, and they heal her companion. During this encounter, Egwene looks at Aviendha and says in her mind, "She looks like Rand's cousin." Rand is previously described as pale, with red hair, gray eyes, and tall. Later, Aviendha is described as having a flat face and expression, but when she smiles, letting down her grim expression, she is actually quite lovely. Throughout the series, Aviendha grows into the position of a wise one, though this is against her wishes initially. She was assigned to teach Rand Aiel ways, and at first it is unknown why she dislikes the task. Later it becomes clear that she loves him but didn't want to. Once she comes to terms with her love for him, her relationship with Rand grows in leaps and bounds, though she is determined to go into it as an equal. This desire pushes her development and drives her growth with the One Power. For anyone arguing that there was no description of Aviendha's skin color, or any Aiel for that matter, or if they reference her dark hands and face, here are direct quotes from the books. In the mid-afternoon, he finally spotted a figure climbing the mountain, scrambling up wearily. Aviendha. Matt had been right. She was bare as she was born, and showing some effects of the sun, too. Aiel or not, it was only her hands and face that were sun-darkened, and the rest of her looked decidedly red. The Shadow Rising, Chapter 34. She stood in one smooth motion, surprisingly pale where the sun had not touched her, slender and hard-muscled, yet with roundness and softness that haunted his dreams. The Fires of Heaven, Chapter 52. Robert Jordan, in an interview back in '96, made the Aiel look Irish because he thought it was kind of funny. He didn't like the fact that hardened desert warriors are always described as looking a certain way, so he used the opposite description. While a Maiden of the Spear, Aviendha had shorter hair with a type of small tail of hair down the nape of her neck. Blue-green eyes and reddish hair, cut short except for a narrow tail that hung to her shoulders. Soft laced knee boots, and close-fitting coat and breeches, all in the shades of earth and rock. Such coloring and clothing had been described to her once. This woman was Aiel. The Dragon Reborn, Chapter 38. When becoming an apprentice to a wise one, she has the small tail cut and begins to grow her hair out. This cutting symbolizes the end of her time as a spear sister, and the growing of the hair is a sign of maturity to grow for her people. She is willing to do whatever is needed to preserve her people. The cultural significance is what makes Aviendha a fascinating character. The stories of Aviendha's adventures with others throughout the series explores her growth and even sometimes her backsliding into rash decisions, which ultimately has consequences, and she has to correct her trajectory to grow even more. Her relationship with Elaine and Min is that of sisterhood, from a bond of friendship. But even closer than that is that of sister wives, which is an Aiel cultural phenomenon. This cannot happen if the character changes. The Aiel cannot change from their honor system and values, like not touching swords, training in harsh conditions, protecting their history, and searching for the one of prophecy, while still being called Aiel. Robert Jordan, in another interview, talks about the Aiel. Seraph 23. First off, I'd like to say thanks, Mr. Jordan, for providing my family and I countless hours of reading enjoyment, and I'd like to ask you something about the Aiel. Well, who are they? Robert Jordan. You're welcome. And they are the descendants of the pacifists who were in service to the Aes Sedai in the Age of Legends. If on the other hand you mean the source of their culture, in my mind they contain some elements of the Apache, some of the Zulu, some of the Bedouin, and some elements of my own, including that I rather like the fact of making desert dwellers blue-eyed and fair instead of the usual dark-eyed, dark-complected desert people. The elements Robert Jordan refers to is the cultural style of the Aiel. The phenotype of the Aiel is that of tall Irish nomadic folk. It was his artistic expression that found its way into the Wheel of Time universe. The difference in this artistic expression and just writing anything for any reason was that it makes sense in this universe he created. It is consistent and logical to use the cultures the way he does for the benefit of the story. The small pieces of story are excellent details that fit together like a puzzle, explaining the world around you, the reader. To change this would not only be disrespectful of the author and his work, but also make the world less immersive and consistent when adapted by amateur writers who believe they know better than the original author. That being said, thanks for watching this video. Look out for more videos explaining more of the series content and what could have been changed to make it better than it was. Likely, there will be more information on things only touched on in this video, so stay tuned. Walk in the light, my friends.